Hello and welcome to today's podcast. Podcast is Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders. Today is what I like to add. I am your host, Cesar Torres for JCI Santa Clarita, and I'm here today with today's guest. How many times can I say today? Take a shot. This is David Cantrell. Thank you for joining us today, David.
It is my pleasure. I'm always helpy. Oh boy, this is going to be a long day.
It's going to be fine. He didn't take a shot, by the way.
Did not.
But here, I did a little bit of research, and I was actually very surprised with your background. Worked for American Family Funding, Raymond James.
Yep.
And now you're VP Business Development at Solarverse.com.
Correct.
There you go.
Shameless promotion here.
No, not shameless at all. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
But what I like to tell people is I actually don't know anything about people. I always just talk, communicate, like, hey, how's it going? And then through conversations, we're like, oh, I actually work here. Like, So where I first met you was VIA.
Correct.
Yeah, so you are the chairman of VIA.
Correct. Yes.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
if people out there who don't know, Valley Industry Association.
Yes, Valley Industry Association. Most people do call it VIA. You get some weirdos that call it VIA, but we're trying to get rid of that. But yeah, it's VIA. It's been an organization around for 40 years, and I've been actually the chairman for the last 2 years, just because with all the changes and everything going on, it just seemed a bit easier to do it that way. But this is so I'm in my last 6 months of my second run, and I will hand it off to somebody else at the end of the year.
That's awesome. And VIA offers a lot of events, programs.
Yes.
Can you give us a small little snippet of what, how does VIA help businesses?
So, our
main goal,
Our main goal, for me, has been to connect and help people in the business community, both with the emerging people, emerging leaders, and the established leaders that we have in our community. Because again, coming out of the pandemic, this has been the first. I feel like this is kind of the last 3 or 4 months where people really are feeling comfortable going back out again. And so, what we've started, there's a couple things that we do. We have our what's called After 5, which is a mixer, but we do it at different businesses. So that business gets to advertise themselves. We give them a little bit of time to talk, but then it's mostly, like I said, it's a business mixer that people could come in, enjoy each other's company, have a cocktail maybe, and just have some fun. And then we move that around. So we do one of those a month. And actually in July, we're doing it at Solarverse. It's kind of our grand opening.
Sick. All right.
So it'll be a lot of fun. And then we have our quarterly luncheons, which is a little bit more of a sit-down event, more of a little bit bigger event. This next one, which is going to be very exciting, and it always is very well attended, is our State of the State luncheon. And we have Senator Scott Wilk and Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo joining us. And it's just kind of a time that they get to tell us, hey, what's going on in Sacramento? What are you working on? Take a few questions from the crowd, but usually it's just and we usually have Ed Masterson does the moderating up there.
We all know Ed.
Oh yeah, voice of God, and he does a great job. Really, because it's not like again, it's not like a gotcha session. It's like, hey, what are you guys working on? What do you think's working well? What's not working well? And so it's a really good insight, and that's to stay on my soapbox here. That's another thing that VIA does is that we have very good relationship with a lot of our legislators. And so when businesses are having questions or they need help or something like that, we always tell them, hey, let us know because we can connect you with these people. And, that way these, legislators, city council, assembly people, senators really get to hear from their constituents what their concerns are.
And it's I've been to multiple VIA events, and it's very, I want to say it's personal because you're right next to each other.
Yeah.
So JCIs, we get some more younger crowd people, but it's our goal is to empower them,
right?
Give them some training,
yeah.
And I feel that the people who are interested in JCI would also be a benefit. It would be a benefit to them to join these VIA events as well.
100%. Yeah, because you really, again, the After 5, you really get to learn a little bit about different businesses and what's going on in the community.
And people at VIA love drinking. So we're the younger crowd. And if we have a cocktail hour, we'll meet someone.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. We've definitely found that. That's a lot easier to get people when you're offering alcohol. Yeah. That is for sure.
Especially after a long work day, right? Yeah. After 5,
well, these events, I will tell you, these events used to be, very, very well attended. We would get 60, 70, 80 people at these events a lot of times because we hold them at 5:30, right? So it's like, all right, I'm at work. I'm going to go swing by here. Maybe I'll have a cocktail with a friend and then head home. Well, the struggle after the pandemic is so many people working from home. It was like, all right, how do we convince these people to get up,
Get out of there.
get out of there, drive over here, have a cup, and then drive?
Man.
So, but it seems to be changing because, I mean, our via like the first After 5 we did towards the beginning of the year, I think we had like 30 people. And at the last one, I think we had about 50.
All right.
So it's definitely,
it's
it's like I said, I think people are getting more wanting to go out a little bit more.
one of the main struggles was getting people out of their house.
Yeah.
Did you see that more on the younger side, where the young people didn't want to do that, or kind of overall, or what struggles are you seeing?
So I don't think it was a demographic so much.
That was just a COVID thing.
I think it was just a COVID thing. But what I will say this is, and something that again I'm actively trying to change is VIA for years has been looked at as kind of the old crowd, right? Because it was typically the people that would be members are, the CEOs or CFOs or in high level management positions would be the member of VIA. And what the two things that I'm really trying to change that mentality is, number one, people need to realize that if a company joins VIA, the entire membership of that company have membership. And they can go and to any of our events, for the membership rate. And people just don't realize that because I don't think they know about it. And also, it's like we only have one email at every company, and I think sometimes it just stops there instead of them putting it out. Because like for a minute, when I was at American Family Funding, all of us were members because American Family Funding was a member. So that's one of the things, is trying to get out the word that, hey, if you work for a company that's a member, you can go to any of these things. And then the other thing is, again, trying to get the up and coming leaders to join our events and let them realize that, hey, it's not just the old guard. It's, this is starting to meld into just being the business community rather than the old business community, So, trying to get the younger, the up and coming leaders to come to our events and see that, hey, can be your organization as well. And that's one of the things I always, whenever I'm talking to people, is I say, this is your organization, and it really is. I mean, it's the community's organization. Us as board leaders, board members, I am telling you, most of our board meeting is, what can we do to help? What can we do to help?
Yeah.
And it's like, tell us what you want so we can, steer the organization in that direction. So again, I want the younger people to realize that, as they come up through too, this is an organization that is great, can be a part of, and really great for the business community.
I think that there are a lot of people out there, JC's included, that would actually love to talk to experienced workers, businesses that have been in the field for over 30 years and ask questions, get some wisdom from them. So there's a lot of people who are, like you said, working from home, but most of them are not necessarily working for companies, but also they're starting their own companies.
Yes, absolutely.
So what do you think is a benefit for like a person to go to one of these events? Do you have any wisdom for these young entrepreneurs that you could bestow upon them? What's one thing of today's youth, or just today, is like, boom?
I'll tell you that I think I have a lot of wisdom. My children may argue with that, but I'm telling you I do. But to those entrepreneurs or young people that are starting their own business or have their own business, and even if they've had their own business for a little bit of time, most of VIA's membership are people that have started their own businesses. It really is either people that have, either by themselves or 2 or 3 people or even 10 people, but most of these people have started their own business. So that value of, being able to talk to somebody and say, hey, this worked, this didn't, that's valuable. And I will tell you, us old people love talking about this kind of
you guys
crap,
love
right?
talking about your
we
business.
love it. Yeah, we really do. And so that's where, if somebody came up and said, said to me, hey, what would I would, be more than happy to have that conversation and let them know that. And now again, what worked for me might not work for you and vice versa, but at least I could tell you, this is my experience.
And there's, exactly.
So
because
but that way, that's something they can work into the, and think about it for themselves.
So, I don't know if you know this, maybe some people out there know this, but my family actually owns a record store.
Right.
And that's why, personally, I don't like using the term young entrepreneurs and stuff, but a lot of people love that title.
Yes.
I personally don't. That's why I use it. That's why I kind of use it. And you see my eye kind of goes, oh. But when I say young entrepreneurs, I actually mean like my brother.
Right.
So my brother started his own company, and he did everything himself. And I try to explain to people, my brother included, but you really need to surround yourself with people who are beyond your level.
Absolutely.
Because they have so much information, so much wisdom. They know the pitfalls and they can give you advice.
Right.
And they could give as much advice as they want. You don't have to take it.
Right.
Or some might not be applicable to your situation.
Right.
But I understand that Via, or even just yourself, David, there's this opportunity to have this wealth of information, and all y'all have to do is just go, because it's already there. It's already offered. That's the thing. That's the mind-blowing part. It's offered there. But there's just so many people that just like, I don't know what it is. It's a mental thing. Where it's just like, I don't want to ask. I could do it myself. And I feel like that's just inviting failure.
Well, I'm absolutely. And the other thing I'll tell you is, now that I've been around business for a very long time, one of the things I still see happening today, and it happened to me years ago, is people are afraid to ask for help because they feel like if they're asking for help, it's showing either, number one, I don't know, or number one, some kind of weakness. And what I have learned is that the strongest people are the ones willing to say, I don't know how to do it. Please help me. Because that way you are going to ask somebody else that does know, and making yourself vulnerable is one of the strongest things you can do. That's admitting, the one thing I tell people in my business or any business is the one thing I know is I don't know it all. And I have to get people that know it all, or somebody that knows about, like when you're starting, I don't know about HR. I don't know about payroll. I don't know about insurances. I don't know. And so you find people that know those things and you ask for their advice, or you hire them to help you. You will, because you want to do what you're good at, right? I'm not good at that stuff. And so I need to reach out to people who are good at it and have them help me. So please, again, asking for help is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness, 100%. So be willing to ask for those kinds of questions, because again, you're right. You can't do it all.
You can't do it. That was a beautiful quote. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness. So people have to change that. And I have that conversation with so many people. It's just like, you just got to change that mentality. You're not failing because you're actually, that's actually reflecting on yourself, which I found out people don't do.
Right.
Is reflect, see what you're not good, your weaknesses, or where not your weaknesses, more like just your lower strengths, right? It's like I'm strong, but that's like on the bottom part of my strengths.
Yeah.
But part of the JCI is like, I try to tell people, we offer a lot of things. We could offer training, we could offer opportunities for charity, or if you just want to come and hang out and meet people,
right?
Come to chat and chill, and we could meet you there. Sounds like Via is a great place to make connections.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
But Via and JCI also have this cross in between where we actually help lots of charity events in the community. Because both of these, JCI and Via, they're very community-based. Yeah. We want to help everyone.
Yeah.
Help, of course. Help you, will help myself, will empower me, and lift everyone else around us.
Right.
So we were actually at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
Auction 51. You were there. I wasn't expecting you to be there. You're volunteering.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. I mean, because I actually, Dennis and Pam are friends of mine, and I was.
The chairs.
Yes. The chair. They were the chair of the event, which was probably one of the better events this year. I mean, they did a wonderful job with it. Time.
Do you think these charity opportunities and volunteering is important for like up and coming youths today?
Absolutely. I mean,
Why? Why do you think so? Because I'm totally ready to just put on my VR headset, the new Apple one, and just stay in my room and just like be in there. Why do I have to go out and help these organizations?
So, because it is, number one, it's a way to give back, right? And we need to all. Everybody should take that moment to say, hey, is there something I can do to give back to our community? Because communities in general, and I know we speak in a very large sense, but act local, do something here that helps our communities help. And when you hear these stories of people that you're helping, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's one of the, I'll tell you, I'm going to do a little shameless thing here.
There's no shame here. Yeah.
One of my favorite events I do every year is I play Santa at the, it's called SRAR, which is Southland Regional Association of Realtors. They put on a Christmas party at a elementary school. And it's usually either, somewhere New Hall or they're in Canyon Country or something like that. And they go and we do a bowling event to raise a bunch of money, and we give out a present. We give out, obviously they get some games, and then they also get a gift card to Vallarta that they give their parents. So they decorate a card and they give it to their parents. And then I'm playing Santa. That's why I stay fat, so I can make sure that I can fit in that role.
Hashtag stay fat.
But then, yeah, exactly. Hashtag stay fat for Santa. But then they come up and I give them the presents and things like that. And then they all, and it's just watching them do that. But the thing that and this happens almost every single year, and the one that just breaks my heart, you will get 3 or 4 of those kids that don't open the gifts because they want to wait to open it at Christmas, and it's just, so that when you see stuff like that, you're like, okay, there's got to be more things I can do. Right. And so that's when, when instead of sitting at home, being on your VR or being on your games, thinking about, is there something I can do to give back? You would be surprised at how much you get from that, because I will tell you, I know that we're giving those gifts to those kids, but the feeling that I get is better than anything that could happen. And so it's amazing when you start giving back the joy that it brings to yourself. And so that's why. So that's one of the reasons why. And then the other reason is just people need help, man. And if you have some kind of skill and you have something that you can do, I guarantee you, they're cliches for a reason. The more you give, the more you will get. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. And so that's why. So my attitude on volunteering has just been that. It's that these are things that I care about. Because I volunteer at the Wish Foundation too. And it's just, that's all about education. I mean, I'm all, I want people to become educated, and so that's something I can do to help. Then I'm going to do it. So that's just kind of the way, I look at it. And that's and again, it is very rewarding to do it. It really is.
It's personally rewarding.
It really is.
You're part of the one that you have as much money. Your business could be as successful, but if there's no giving back, you know, in the heart, it's not worth it, you would say.
Yeah.
I think there's over 100 nonprofit organizations in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
And it's all about just finding what you're passionate about and reaching out to them.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm currently on, I think, 2 committees and vice president of marketing for the JCI.
Right.
So for the JCI, I'm using that as an opportunity to, as more of a training for myself.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of training, and I love that. Getting out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And doing that.
Right.
For the other committees, the Boys and Girls Club, I help with their graphic design.
Oh, okay.
So that is my talent, my skill.
Right.
Is for the Boys and Girls Club, and then for the JCI, it's more of a learning, self-empowerment.
Yeah, because I think you did the brochures, right?
I did everything graphic.
Okay, so because I just saw the
logo, the aliens, the banners, the book.
You did that was awesome. You did such a great job. I was very, very, very impressed. It was awesome.
I'm the shadow graphic designer in Santa Clarita. I rarely do you see my face. Actually, I started a new campaign this year. Well, last year when I joined JCI, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get out there,
right?
Because I try to tell people to get out of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. If you're comfortable and there's no turmoil in your life, not bad turmoil, but like you yourself, where it's like, maybe I don't want to proceed with my education, or I'm good where I'm at. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm anti that. I want to jump at every opportunity. I want to learn if I could do it. I want to push myself. Right. So I found that being on the JCI board was very beneficial for me for that. And I was wondering, like, maybe I should join another board. Maybe there's other opportunities outside of graphic design. You know, maybe I could lead an entire team to make a fundraising campaign or something. Like, who knows?
Yeah. You'd be surprised at the skills that you don't know you have.
You right?
Right. You really, and when given a task and all of a sudden it starts coming together in your mind and you can pull this off, you're like, wow, I had no idea I couldn't do that.
Some sort of innate skill that you're just not familiar with. You put you in the corner, do something. No, raise money for this.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do that.
Yeah, but you'd be amazed how much you can start figuring it out, and then back to starting to ask people for help that have done it before.
Exactly.
You know, and as far as pushing people out of their comfort zone or pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Again, you know, through my years, it's looking again at things differently, right? That the reason why we don't want to do this is ultimately the fear of failure, right? That you don't want to try something and
fear of failure.
But if because one of the things that, and again, don't tell people a lot of this, but now I'm going to apparently tell everybody. I was a pole vault coach at West Ranch for 10 years. So my son pole vaulted. He was very successful. But what I would tell those kids is that, failure is not, the end. It's just a learning experience, right? You have to, because if you never fail at anything, you're never going to learn anything, right? So you always have to be willing to push yourself a little bit and be okay with not a failure, a learning experience, right? That's what it is. It's not a fail. First time I can't remember, they came up with some acronym for fail, but I would always tell them that, listen, you're allowed to be disappointed. You can't be discouraged. Right, I can deal with disappointment. I can give you, but once you start getting discouraged, saying I can't do this, that's when it becomes difficult. But that's part of that. You have to be okay with failure because, again, in pole vaulting, the one thing I tell them is your last jump, you're always going to knock that bar off. You can't jump to the sky, right? So you have to understand that that last jump you make is not going to be, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You can learn from it, and so that's what I'm trying to tell people that don't want to get out of their comfort zone is then you're never going to learn anything. You got to push yourself a little bit.
Got to push yourself out there.
Yeah, you really do.
Put yourself out there. Push yourself hard.
Yeah.
Reach your. Well, I like this one quote. I don't remember it too well, but it's pretty much in your 20s, you overwork yourself.
Right.
Push yourself over the limit. Burn out.
Yeah.
And then when you're 30s, you know your limit is like you just have to reach that. But
right.
You're seasoned. You learned. You learned where your capacity. Exactly. It's like no. I think I'm going to step back a bit, but it's very important to find that threshold, that limit you have.
Yeah.
And you're never going to find that if you just don't step out there.
Right, exactly. You always have to kind of keep pushing it a little bit.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. Like I said, I try to tell that to a lot of people, but I don't know. There's a lot of pushback on that. Some weird mentality.
Yeah, it just, again, it comes back to, like I said, it's the fear of failure. Nobody wants to fail.
But that's also the young and the old. You say that.
100%.
So people listening, you have to tell them.
Yeah, you got it. And it's the
secret of tomorrow's leaders from David. It's a right to fail. Fail.
It's okay. It's really okay. I mean, it'll be okay. And the other thing also is if you have a good support system, whether it be family, friends, or coworkers or something like that, because you would also be surprised that when you start telling people, hey, I'm thinking about trying this, how many of them would go, that's a great idea. Oh God, how can we help you? That's awesome. That's, so even just putting that little idea out there to your close friends and family, you'd be surprised at how many. Now, of course, you're always going to get the one, that's never going to work. They're always going to get that, but that's fine because that's the one you're going to prove wrong.
That's it.
That's the guy you're going to prove wrong. So
you can either do it from your own will or do it for like petty comebacks.
And whatever.
That's great.
I'm happy with
the Metallica route, the Megadeth route.
Whatever. Either way. but again,
we'll succeed anyways.
Yes, but again, you'd be surprised at how much support you'll get.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Have a nice support system.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a conversation in a chat and chill that resonated with me. Mm-hmm. You had said that a much needed skill these days is public speaking.
Yes.
And that kind of resonates with what we were talking about the whole time. People just don't want to get out of their room.
Yeah.
Well, what have you seen that public speaking, why is public speaking such a necessary skill now these days? What happened? What do you think happened? What do you see?
Well, I think that it's a way to reach a lot of people in a short period of time, but also you'd be surprised that when you have that confidence within yourself in just that one area, how it spreads out to other areas. So if you're willing to get up there and talk about something and give your information that you have, again, back to what can you give back? When you're giving that information out to a lot of people, you'll be surprised at how that will also give you confidence in other areas of your life that you didn't think you could do things that when you can. And public speaking, listen, I've stood in front of 400 people. I've stood in front of 50 people. It all comes back down to listen. I'm an idiot. We all know that's not, so I don't mind.
I don't think you're an idiot.
So I mean, it's like, listen, if you want to listen to what I got to say, that's fine. But it really is also, if you're talking about something you're passionate about, you'd be surprised how easy public speaking becomes, because if it's something that you really care about, it's easy to talk about it.
Heck, you might even ramble.
Yeah, whatever, which is fine,
It's fine, yeah.
And the other thing when it comes to public speaking, I tell people is the audience doesn't know what you're going to say. It's not like they have a script of what you're going to say.
Messed up.
Oh, you messed up there. You didn't say that. They have no idea. So if you mess up, who cares? Just keep going. They don't know, so it's like, it doesn't matter.
Speak like a true musician is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, messed up? I'll just do it again.
Keep playing. Doesn't matter, keep going. So,
that's interesting. I never really thought of that.
Yeah, it's like people get so, what if I mess? They don't know if you messed up. Just keep talking. They're fine, So yeah, and it's just, again, it's finding something you're passionate about and just not really, worrying about, making those flubs and things like that, because that's how people talk, So
you figured that'd be one of the easiest things we could do since we were born with a mouth.
Yeah. But as soon as you get up in front of people, they start freaking out a little bit.
Now they just want to kind of stay in the phone and kind of send text messages out to the whole crowd.
Well,
with their whole VR set now, and everyone's just gonna be like, oh, I can see the script.
Exactly.
You think public speaking or speaking in general is very important in today's workforce?
Oh yeah, I think it is. And it's funny you should bring it, because I actually had a meeting, had a lunch with a professor at COC who runs the astronomy club, and we were trying to think of, okay, solar astronomy, is there some way we can kind of work together?
There are two different fields. I don't know if they can. I don't think if they merge anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know, but she also does a lot of work with these kids that send projects to up with NASA. And so, but she was like, we have these kids who are so smart and so successful, but they're so afraid to talk in front of people, like we're saying. And, I told her, I said, listen, I've been a salesman my whole life. That's what I've been a sales guy for the last 40 years. But what I'm trying to tell even my kid, I have this discussion with them, and hopefully I think they're getting it. But a lot of what people, high school or college age, they have to understand, listen, at some point you're going to have to sell yourself to somebody, either to get a job, to get a grant, to get, whatever it is that you're going to do. So it's always all about sales. And so these skills of not only public speaking, but just speaking in general, I had a conversation with my son, probably 10 years ago. I'm like, dude, you got to look people in the eyes and shake their hand, because that whole, like you said, we're on their games and they're texting and emailing and things like that. And I'm like, you have to have those, we call them now soft skills, I guess, are very important, and that's really where, the public speaking and just speaking in general really has to come out. And that's where, I'm trying to tell these young kids, even when I was coaching in high school, we would have those discussions about, speaking to people, talking to people, having kind of those interactions, because it's important, because again, you're going to have to talk to somebody.
You have to talk to some, and they're not soft skills anymore.
I know.
Yeah, you need those.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends I don't like calling them business partners, but I have friends, none of the friends. It's it's just, I bring them out to these events. It's like, hey, this is yada yada. It's like, how are you doing? And you can see a change of how they are, like just one-on-one to being introduced to a crowd. Right. It's like, it's like, I never really, it's something you don't realize when you're in a private private room. It's like, it's like, you're great telling me one-on-one, but when you come to someone else, it's like, well, you kind of hide yourself.
Yeah.
And I get the same feeling when I'm at work sometimes. Actually, when I started at Milady, I started working the phones. And I had some prior experience.
Right.
I mean, a phone call with someone. But same thing. It's like, for some reason, I'd have to get reused to speaking to someone when that phone rings. Like, why am I feeling this way? I'm in control here. I have more information about the company than this person calling. I think like you said, it's a confidence thing.
100%.
100%. It's just a thing. It's a confidence thing that just needs to be built upon.
Right.
And everyone would assume that we're all born with the same like baseline confidence level. When you're birthed, you're like, boom. Right. There's not some baby that get kicks out and then suddenly he's like, puts a finger up in the air. I'm going to be the best.
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to be the first baby.
Exactly.
Maybe boss baby, but not really.
Okay. That makes sense.
That makes sense. But it's literally a thing that we all have to kind of just work at and actually get out there and do.
Right.
And at the chatting shows, like you said, with the icebreaker, you get some people who don't really like talking.
Oh, yeah.
Or
you can tell.
They can't really, I wouldn't say they can't. It's more like they don't have the experience to say a cohesive, like string of words to make a solid point.
Right.
A lot of times it's a lot of words that are trying to make multiple points, which is fine. You know, you're practicing.
Yeah.
Not as bad. That's why we're doing it. Mm-hmm. But I find that very wild.
Yeah.
That just speaking to someone, looking them in the eye, shaking someone's hand is like so foreign now.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it is. And that's something that in my old company, they would send out a company survey every year What can we do better? You know,
What can we do better?
What can we do better? American Pacific Mortgage is a company I work. They're a great company. I respect them tremendously. But I love that they would send that out. And
Yeah, what were some things that
one of the things that I would say is, can you please tell people to pick up the damn phone? You know, I am so tired of emailing and texting, especially when, you know, an email going back and forth is going to take a half an hour. Where if you pick up the phone, we'd handle this in 8 seconds. You know, it's like, but again, people have that, you know, for some reason that pushback on now even speaking to each other, you know, and it's like, people, come on, we are a communicative society. You know, I understand that it's getting, you know, text messages, and I'm not against that, right? I'm not one of these, you know, really old folks.
We text this morning.
Yeah, I'm 100%. You know, I think it's great, and I think it's definitely something that is needed and very useful. But let's not get rid of the other part of it as well, because being on the phone with somebody, having that conversation is also useful, you know, because you hear inflections, you hear tones, you hear things like that you cannot hear on a text message or an email, you know. And a lot of times, again, you can take care of a problem a lot quicker if you're just talking to somebody and getting that answer immediately rather than, you know, texting back and forth. So again, I'm not saying that you should always be on the phone, but there's definitely times that is necessary. And, you know, having those inner you know, personal skills definitely helps.
Are there any other gaps that you've seen in businesses where like maybe we have to put an effort to accommodate?
I think, I mean, as far as a gap, and this is,
It's probably part of the generational gap, right?
and it's been going on for years, right?
Yeah,
this is not new.
No, it's
because,
not new.
Because I'll tell
the
you that
technologies are new.
when I was trading, when I was doing, you know, when I was younger, you know, 20 years ago, you know, we started a lot with we were using AOL IM, right?
Nice.
As a chat between my customers and things. Like I would be doing trades like through that.
Corey, can we put that doors down? Yeah.
But the older guys who were, you know, now my age, but older back then were like, you got to get on the phone. You got to make sure you're calling. And I'm like,
you got to get your carrier pigeon.
But I can get,
yeah,
exactly. You know, but I can get 6 trades done here in the time it takes, you know. So I was part of that and now I'm the other side of that, right? Going, oh, you got to pick up the phone and talk to people every now and then. But I think the gap is always being willing to understand that my system, while is great for me, might not be great for somebody else. And that age doesn't matter, right? The way I do things might not be, but be willing to understand that, you know what they're doing, there's pieces of that I might be able to take from, and that person might be able to take some stuff from me, and be willing to understand that, you know, it's not my way or the highway. You know, that's really, you have to open yourself up to understanding that, you know what, this, you know, for me, and I've had this discussion with my kids, you know, this, you know, the younger generation has some unbelievable ideas and unbelievable techniques on getting things done really, really well. Much, much better than me in the way that I do things. But I have some skills that are much better than them because I've been in business for 40 years, you know, and there's certain things that I've learned along the way that are still applicable now on what I think you should or shouldn't do, right? So it's just opening yourself up and be willing to hear the other side of that coin and hear what they have bringing in, and not just pushing it away saying, oh, those millennials, they just, blah, blah, blah. No, millennials are fantastic, man. They're
the best generation.
They are going to change the world. Just like I'm a baby boomer. We did too, you know, now. Too. So at this generation, again, I have to be willing to say, you know what, that is a great idea. That is better than what I came up with, you know, because we came up with this 20 years ago. This is better than what we were doing then, and be willing. But then also they have to be willing to say, you know what, you've been around for a long time. There are things I can learn from you that, you know, because you've done it, you know, kind of thing. So I think that's the generational gap that we got to start trying to.
The acceptance on both sides. Correct. To be open.
Yeah.
And to have that, my way can change.
Yeah. Yeah.
That open communication. I really like this. Everything we've been talking about is like the importance of communication. Yeah. In every field.
Absolutely.
Business.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It could be in a business field. It could be personal growth to speak.
Yep.
Get that confidence. Be connections through via, becoming boards, giving back to charity.
Yeah.
It's communication.
It's 100% absolutely correct. Communication is everything. You know, information and communication are the two things that are really everything. And I also tell people, and this is my old man, get off my grass, everything in the world is supply and demand. And one thing I'll leave you with, buy low, sell high. That's it.
Buy low, sell high.
That's business.
That's
Supply
it.
and demand, buy low, sell high. Doesn't matter what business you're in. If you start thinking about it, that's kind of making sense. But then that allows you to position yourself in ways that kind of will help as well. So, but communication is key. You got to be able to communicate. And again, now we have so many different forms of communication. That doesn't mean any one is better than the other, but we should be using all of them.
Mm-hmm. The last question I have for you, David, thank you for joining, is for the people out there listening who want to be a part of a board, who see you and is like, wow, that's really great. That a lot of people know who you are, like who you are, and you give and help to the community just because you like it.
Yeah.
I hope people who are listening want to be that. What is like one change of the mind or one piece of advice to tell them like, hey, if you want to pretty much be where I'm at, or just like giving back and being part of a board, what is one thing that they could change or do in their life to put them on the right path?
I think when it comes to giving back, kind of like what you said earlier, there's so many nonprofits out here, and I would always start there. You got to find what you're passionate about, because there are so many, there's going to be something that you're passionate about. You would be surprised. And if you start reaching out to them and you start asking again, do you need help? And they will say yes, you will be surprised at how it makes you feel. So one of the reasons why I volunteer at a lot of these places, I like people. I do. I enjoy hanging out with
and
people.
People love you.
And so, when I'm volunteering for this thing, again, I tell people but it's kind of selfish because I just like it. I like hanging out with people. I like having fun with people. I like talking about this kind of stuff. I like talking, the Boys and Girls, a great organization. Wine on the Roof for Wish Foundation, great organization. Child and Family Center, great organization. It's just that I enjoy being out there talking to people and having fun. And so that when I'm volunteering, that's what I'm trying to do is just, hey, let's enjoy this. Let's have a good time while we're helping. So
right.
Yeah. So for people, like I said, that are looking, I would just find what you're passionate about and reach out to them. And I will tell you, it would be amazing. It really would.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, David. That was great.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it tremendously.
It was awesome. Good handshake too. We also need that.
Yeah.
Good handshake.
Yes.
And this has been Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders today. Find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other place you get your podcast. My name is Cesar Torres, and thank you for joining us. See you next time.